high-pressure experimental condensing steam engine at wheel Prosper. This became known as the Cornish engine, and was the most efficient in the world at that time. Other Cornish engineers contributed to its development, but Trevithick's work was predominant. In the same year he installed another high-pressure engine, though non-condensing, in a threshing machine on a farm at Probus, Cornwall. It was very successful and proved to be cheaper to run than the horses it replaced. It was in use for 70 years, and was then retired to an exhibit at the Science Museum. Recoil engine. In one of Trevithick's more unusual projects, he attempted to build a recoil engine similar to the Eolipile described by Hero of Alexandria in about AD 50. Trevithick's engine comprised a boiler feeding a hollow axle to route the steam to a Catherine wheel with two fine-bore steam jets on its circumference. The first wheel was 15 feet, 4.6 m, in diameter, and a later attempt was 24 feet, 7.3 m, in diameter. To get any usability, steam had to issue from the nozzles at a very high velocity and in such large volume that it proved not to operate with adequate efficiency. Today this would be recognized as a reaction turbine. South America. Draining the Peruvian silver mines. In 1811, draining water from the rich silver mines of Cerro de Pasco in Peru at an altitude of 4,330 meters, 14,210 feet, posed serious problems for the man in charge, Francisco Uval. The low-pressure condensing engines by Bolton and Watt developed so little power as to be useless at this altitude, and they could not be dismantled into sufficiently small pieces to be transported there along mule tracks. Uval was sent to England to investigate using Trevithick's high-pressure steam engine. He bought one for 20 guineas, transported it back and found it to work quite satisfactorily. In 1813 Uval set sail again for England and, having fallen ill on the way, broke his journey via Jamaica. When he had recovered he boarded the Falmouth packet ship Fox, coincidentally with one of Trevithick's cousins on board the same vessel. Trevithick's home was just a few miles from Falmouth, so Uval was able to meet him and tell him about the project. Trevithick leaves for South America. On the 20th of October, 1816, Trevithick left Penzance on the whaler ship Asp, accompanied by a lawyer named Page and a boilermaker bound for Peru. He was received by Uval with honor initially, but relations soon broke down and Trevithick left in disgust at the accusations directed at him. He traveled widely in Peru acting as a consultant on mining methods. The government granted him certain mining rights and he found mining areas, but did not have the funds to develop them, with the exception of a copper and silver mine at Caxetambo. After a time serving in the army of Simon Bolivar he returned to Caxetambo, but due to the unsettled state of the country and presence of the Spanish army he was forced to leave the area and abandon £5,000 worth of ore ready to ship. Uval died in 1818 and Trevithick soon returned to Cerro de Pasco to continue mining. However, the War of Liberation denied him several objectives. Meanwhile, back in England, he was accused of neglecting his wife Jane and family in Cornwall. Exploring the Isthmus of Costa Rica on foot. After leaving Cerro de Pasco, Trevithick passed through Ecuador on his way to Bogotá in Colombia. He arrived in Costa Rica in 1822 hoping to develop mining machinery. He spent time looking for a practical route to transport ore and equipment, settling on using the San Juan River, the Sarapiquí River, and then a railway to cover the remaining distance. In a biography his son wrote that Trevithick had in mind a steam-driven railway and not mule-driven. The initial party comprised Trevithick, Scottish mining projector James Gerard, 35, two schoolboys, Jose Maria Montealegre, a future president of Costa Rica, and his brother Mariano, whom Gerard intended to enroll at a small boarding school at Lauderdale House in Highgate, where Trevithick later made his temporary London home, 36, and 7 natives, 3 of whom returned home after guiding them. 31st part of their journey. The journey was treacherous. One of the party was drowned in a raging torrent and Trevithick was nearly killed on at least 2 occasions. In the first he was saved from drowning by Gerard, and in the second he was nearly devoured by an alligator following a dispute with a local man whom he had in some way offended. Still in the company of Gerard, he made his way to Cartagena where he chanced to meet Robert Stevenson, who was himself on his way home from Colombia, following a failed 3-year mining venture. It had been many years since they last met, when Stevenson was just a baby, and the 2 men were judged by witnesses to their meeting to have little in common. Despite this, Stevenson gave Trevithick £50 to help his passage home. Whilst Stevenson and Gerard booked passage via New York, Trevithick took ship direct to Falmouth, arriving there in October 1827 with few possessions other than the clothes he was wearing. He never returned to Costa Rica. Later projects. Taking encouragement from earlier inventors who had achieved some successes with similar endeavors, Trevithick petitioned Parliament for a grant, but he was unsuccessful in acquiring one. In 1829 he built a closed-cycle steam engine followed by a vertical tubular boiler. In 1830 he invented an early form of storage room heater. It comprised a small fire tube boiler with a detachable flue which could be heated either outside or indoors with the flue connected to a chimney. Once the hot water container could be wheeled to where heat was required and the issuing heat could be altered using adjustable doors. To commemorate the passing of the Reform Bill in 1832 he designed a massive column to be 1,000 feet, 300 m, high, being 100 feet, 30 m, in diameter at the base, tapering to 12 feet, 3.7 m, at the top where a statue of a horse would have been mounted. It was to be made of 1,510 foot square, 3 m, pieces of cast iron and would have weighed 6,000 long tons, 6,100 t, 6,700 short tons. There was substantial public interest in the proposal, but it was never built. Final project. About the same time he was invited to do some development work on an engine of a new vessel at Dartford by John Hall, the founder of J&D Hall Limited. The work involved a reaction turbine for which Trevithick earned £1,200. He lodged at the Bull Hotel in the High Street, Dartford, Kent. Death. The plaque at St Edmund's Burial Ground, East Hill, Dartford. With few odds, Richard Trevithick. Approximately 25 feet from this wall lieth remains of Richard Trevithick. The great engineer and pioneer of high-pressure steam. He died at the Bull Inn, Dartford, and was carried here by fellow workers of Hall's engineering works to a pauper's grave. Born in Logan, Cornwall, April 13 th 1771. Died Dartford, Kent, April 22 nd 1833. After he had been working in Dartford for about a year, Trevithick was taken ill with pneumonia and had to retire to bed at the Bull Hotel, where he was lodging at the time. Following a week's confinement in bed, he died on the morning of the 22nd of April, 1833. He was penniless, and no relatives or friends had attended his bedside during his illness. His colleagues at Hall's Works made a collection for his funeral expenses and acted as bearers. They also paid a night watchman to guard his grave at night to deter grave robbers, as body snatching was common at that time. Trevithick was buried in an unmarked grave in St Edmund's Burial Ground, East Hill, Dartford. The burial ground closed in 1857, with the gravestones being removed in 1956-57. A plaque marks approximate spot believed to be the site of the grave. 37. The plaque lies on the side of the park, near the East Hill Gate, and an unlinked path. Memorials. In Cambourne, outside the public library, a statue by Leonard Stanford Merrifield depicting Trevithick holding one of his small-scale models, 38, was unveiled in 1932 by Prince George, Duke of Kent, in front of a crowd of thousands of local people. 39. On the 17th of March, 2007, Dartford Borough Council invited the chairman of the Trevithick Society, Phil Hoskin, to unveil a blue plaque at the Royal Victoria and Bull Hotel, formerly the Bull, marking Trevithick's last years in Dartford and the place of his death in 1833. The blue plaque is prominently displayed on the hotel's front facade. There is also a plaque at Holy Trinity Church, Dartford. 40. The Cardiff University Engineering, Computer Science and Physics departments are based around the Trevithick building, which also holds the Trevithick Library, named after Richard Trevithick. 41. Trevithick statue by the Public Library at Cambourne, Cornwall in Gower Street in London. On the wall of the University College building an elaborate wall plaque carries the legend, "Close to this place Richard Trevithick, born 1771, died 1833, pioneer of high-pressure steam, ran in the year 1808 the first steam locomotive to draw passengers. It was erected by the Trevithick Centenary Memorial Committee. 42. One of the oldest depictions of St. Piran's flag can be seen in a stained glass window at Westminster Abbey, 1888, commemorating Richard Trevithick. 43. The window depicts St. Michael at the top and 9 Cornish sins: Piran, Petroc, Pinnock, 44, Germanus, Julian, Cyriacus, Constantine, Nonna and Geraint in tears below. The head of Saint Piran appears to be a portrait of Trevithick himself, and the figure carries the banner of Cornwall. 45. There is a plaque and memorial situated in Abercynon, outside the fire station. It says, in commemoration of the achievements of Richard Trevithick, who, having constructed the first steam locomotive, did on February 21, 1804 successfully haul 10 tons of iron and numerous passengers along a tram road from Merthyr to this precinct, where was situated the loading point of the Glamorgan Canal. 46. There is also a building in Abercynon called Ty Trevithick House, named in his honour. On Penydarren Road, Merthyr Tydfil, there is a memorial on the site of the Penydarren tramway. The inscription reads: Richard Trevithick, 1771 to 1833, pioneer of high-pressure steam, built the first steam locomotive to run on rails. On February 21, 1804, traversed the spot on which this monument stands on its way to Abercynon. 47. A short walk north of that is the, slightly misspelled, Trevithick Street, named after Trevithick. A replica of Trevithick's first full-size steam road locomotive was first displayed at Cambourne Trevithick Day 2001, the day chosen for the celebration of Trevithick's public demonstration of the use of high-pressure steam. The team, consisting of John Woodward, Mark Riveron and Sean Oliver, have continued to maintain and display the engine at various steam fairs across the country. The Puffing Devil has proudly led the parade of steam engines at every subsequent Trevithick Day up to and including 2014. Trevithick Drive in Temple Hill, Dartford, was named after Richard Trevithick. Legacy. The Trevithick Society, a successor to industrial archaeology organizations that were initially formed to rescue the Levant winding engine from being scrapped, was named in honor of Richard Trevithick. 48. They publish a newsletter, a journal and many books on Cornish engines, the mining industry, engineers and other industrial archaeological topics. 49. 50. The active Trevithick Society is not to be confused with the former Trevithick Trust, registered by the Charity Commission in 1994 and removed. Ceased to exist in 2006. 51. the Trevithick Trust attracted grants and did work at various sites in Cornwall, including King Edward Mine. There is also a street named after Trevithick in Merthyr Tydfil. Richard Trevithick is celebrated in Camborne, Cornwall on Trevithick Day, which is held annually on the last Saturday in April. The day is a community festival with steam engines from all over the UK attending. Towards the end of the day they parade through the streets of Camborne and steam past a statue of Richard Trevithick outside the Passmore Edwards building. Harry Turtledove's alternate history short story The Iron Elephant has Richard Trevithick inventing his steam engine in 1782 and subsequently racing a mammoth drawn train that it would in time come to Jutland. This character was born sometime before 1771, and is American rather than British, indicating he, alongside station master George Stephenson, is an analogue, a common Turtledove plot device, rather than historical figure. The greatest legacy of Trevithick, of course, is that he set into motion the railway age, and proved that high-pressure steam engines were the way forward from low-pressure engines. After him came George and Robert Stephenson, who created viable locomotives and commercially viable railways, but they only built on what Trevithick laid down before them. See also Icon, Trains Portal Flag, Cornwall Portal. List of topics related to Cornwall.
Good. I did finish this, and I will try to make a short video about him in my language. Dennis is 11:20. So he was one of the pioneers behind the high pressure steam engine. But this video I just used to read about all kind of stuff on Wikipedia. So I have some video about steam engines in English. That's real steam engines like this. But I'm out of money, and I have this debt. I have to pay $1,000 to my debt. Like next week, so I'm out of money. So I have to lower my debt, my payments to my debt every month, my MasterCard credit before I'm getting. But I did spend actually most of my saving to buy these steam engines. I did buy this one, smaller model, Willesco D16 I think. Then I did buy this for fun, like 800 Danish kroner. I did buy to use to like Lego railroad in the future. This Lego bricks is very colorful, so I was thinking this colorful steam engine will fit to a Lego railway. So, but then I did buy this one. It's bigger because it have a bigger boiler. This have I took this one from there. So it got a manometer, and I have you could empty the water. The flywheel is bigger, and the cylinder, the pistons are bigger. So this is why I got it, but I still need a steam engine with a water pump, because this can only run when the water is dry. So this is an old invention. I was thinking about to make a steam engine electric generator. I need some kind of dynamo. I have, but that's not working. No, I need to have some dynamo. It can pull, but this is old toy dynamo. Old Danish toy dynamo. So, but I will stop the video.